Alright, I just wanted to get this done, but I am very excited. It's probably going to take me... You know what? I'm not going to dwell on it, because I'm really excited. We're going to kick things off, because we're about to get into the Season 7 finale. Let's frickin' do it. The first part of Shadow Play. Let's go. Alright, so this episode begins with the backstory by, believe it or not, Starswirl the Bearded. So yeah, this essentially is a backstory that Starswirl the Bearded has pretty much connections with the legends that we have heard about throughout the season, as it gives a backstory that brings about the Pony of Shadows. Yeah. Yeah. So this backstory essentially basically gives the telling of Starswirl the Bearded and all the legends that we've heard about throughout the latter half of Season 7. And this episode also brings the Pony of Shadows. You know the thing that Applejack brought up in Castlemania back in Season 4? Honestly, I gotta admit, I thought it was just a myth, but they're now bringing it back to the forefront. And believe it or not, this is all an entry that was read by Sunburst, who basically found Starswirl's journal as we saw for the foreshadowing at the end of Uncommon Bond, as Sunburst basically read the journal to Princess Celestia, Princess Starlight, and the main six.
What a discovery, Sunburst.
So, it's genuine? You can verify that this journal really belonged to Starswirl the Bearded?
Indeed. From the looks of it, the last thing he wrote before facing the Pony of Shadows.
So, the Pony of Shadows was really real?
It appears so. We never met the other pillars, and we were too young to understand the danger they faced.
And it kind of puts into a lot of perspective of how long the pillars have been around. I mean, obviously, they become legends for a reason, but if Celestia and Luna were not too young to know about them, it gives me something a lot to think about.
Hold on a second now. All those legendary ponies were real too, and they went up with Starswirl to face the Pony of Shadows, and then none of them were ever heard from again?
Yeah. Weren't you listening?
Well, unless you fast forward through most of the intro like I did, so good job since you're spotting in exposition, Applejack.
But what happened to them all? They must have defeated the villain, since Equestria is still full of light and hope. But how?
And where did they go? My old Ponish is a bit rusty.
Also, Old Ponish is actually a good thing to know.
Well, I just happen to be an expert in Old Ponish. I mean, I practically memorized every ancient text about Starswirl there is.
Seriously, all of them. We have fond memories of our old teacher. If you could discover what happened to him, we would be most grateful.
So basically, Twilight and the rest of the main six, along with Sunburst, decide to basically do a lot of research to study Old Ponish, but to no avail.
Nothing. I mean, Starswirl was a genius, obviously. But forget Old Ponish. There's parts where his horn writing is like another language.
Oh, Twilight, we've been studying and referencing and cross-referencing for 3 days straight now.
3 days. So, this is essentially like what happened with Fluttershy and the Help of Information, but for 2 additional days.
I haven't spent this much time reading since the last Daring Do book came out.
Well, at least it was something that was interesting.
Perhaps it is time to take a break. This mystery...
But Starlight actually steps in and is able to read the language.
You can read that?
Horn writing's pretty sloppy, but it's nowhere near as bad as mine.
I just like the reaction that Twilight makes. She's just thinking to herself that basically, I read this thing for about 3 days, and I couldn't understand it because of sloppy handwriting.
Ace of Full Mountain.
Lucer Endemest Shield. Our last stand.
Well, that sure sounds like a clue to me.
So then they discover where exactly the pillars actually were, which is basically sort of Equestria's version of Stonehenge.
This is it. Stonehenge.
Yeah, so basically just switch the S and the T and put in the P. Genius satire.
I can't believe it.
So essentially, after looking all, Twilight actually accidentally puts Starswirl's journal down, as it basically gives a Star Wars-esque holographic vision of all the pillars and also the Pony of Shadow.
Once I defeat all of you, this realm will embrace the darkness, as I did so long ago.
And apparently, from what we see, the Pony of Shadows was powerful enough to entangle them all.
You will never defeat me. We did not come here to defeat you.
So essentially, we see from all the stuff that we saw from the legends and the journal as well, apparently the pillars essentially basically took the Pony of Shadows and themselves to a place called Limbo.
What just happened? It looked like Starswirl cast a spell that banished the Pony of Shadows.
Of course. Powerful magic like that would leave an impression on this place. Bringing the book back here, let us see what happened.
Which was what?
Starswirl and the rest of the pillars sacrificed themselves to save Equestria.
Okay, I mean, I guess we can assume that, and considering this is a show for kids, they're obviously not going to say that they died.
It's amazing to think one of the greatest mysteries of Equestria was solved with a musty old book from an antique shop.
And that really is funny. It's really also nice to know that we finally actually get to hear about Starswirl the Bearded for the first time. This is a character that has been brought up since Luna Eclipse, all the way back in Season 2. We never knew what he was like, what he acted like, how was he respected. We just know about the powerful magic that he's done and some of the spells that he's conjured up. So it's nice to give a bit more insight as basically Twilight basically figures out the old pony text and figures out what to do.
I finished one of Starswirl's spells before, but this one was on a whole different level. Was it an explosion of magical feedback?
And after Twilight finishes being a nerd, we do get to see the adorable diagram. Because Twilight.
They used their magic to open a portal between worlds, to Limbo, and pulled the Pony of Shadows inside. Darling, your diorama! I made more.
There's a lot of jokes like that in this episode that crack me up. But yeah, basically, Limbo exists in Equestria. So I guess we got two planes of existence basically here. We have Tartarus from the essence for Hell, and we have Limbo. So now I wonder what would be the essence of Heaven.
Starswirl thought the only way to trap the Pony of Shadows in Limbo was for the pillars to take him there.
So they got stuck too.
The Pony of Shadows must have been really awful for them to do that. I suppose being trapped for all time as a super duper bad guy in Limbo might be okay if you were doing the Limbo, but that's still pushing it. The thing is, I think I can get them out.
Twilight, are you serious? You can save the most legendary ponies of all time?
I don't know. Opening portals between worlds didn't work out well for me.
Leaving aside the fact of what happened to what you did, Starlight, but let's not forget the fact that oh yeah, there was an evil being that was also trapped with them. No, we're not going to address that? Okay. So essentially, Twilight basically decides to essentially find all the artifacts from the Ponies of Legend to basically open the portal again to rescue Starswirl and the rest of the pillars, as then the map decides to send in and basically give its location to where all the items that we saw.
What are you doing? I'm not doing anything.
Look, shut it.
Black Magnus's shield. Miss Main's flower. Marlbrook's mask. And the blindfold Finaglia wore when she faced that nasty thing.
Any thoughts on Darren Dunn is giving me serious PTSD.
I guess we don't need to figure out who should get what.
Yeah, and you may have noticed also based on the flashback that we got from Starswirl the Bearded, and fortunately, I got this baby to essentially help me out, and it covers all 9 seasons and the movies in case anyone was wondering. But the reason that I'm bringing this up is because believe it or not, they actually basically talk about how each of the pillars is sort of like an older generation of the main 6. It's basically with all the stuff that was mentioned by Starswirl, and we know who should get what. And also based on what we saw in the legend, considering that, according to this, Meadowbrook's virtue is healing, similar to Fluttershy's kindness. Flash Magnus' virtue is bravery, similar to Rainbow Dash's loyalty. Rockhoof is a virtue of strength. Honestly, I don't know how that relates to Applejack's honesty. Nebula's virtue is hope, which, again, I don't know if that's the same as laughter. And then Miss Maine's virtue is selfless, which is the same as generosity. So we see that all the legends and the artifacts do relate to the main six. As Applejack is the first one to find Rockhook's shovel.
I guarantee Rockhook was as real as you and me.
And I suppose that Rosine was stuck with his trusty shovel to save the village from an erupting volcano.
Probably.
I love old legends as much as any pony. But a pony strong enough to save a village from rushing lava with a shovel is preposterous.
Lady, do you not know where you live? In the land of Equestria, where we see Pegasus make tornadoes out of the blue to get rid of frickin' parasprites. And where were you when the space-time continuum happened? You are the dumbest character in My Little Pony history. But of course it only takes one strong kick from Applejack and basically saving her from a bunch of rocks and realizes now she has to change of tune. Personally, if I was in her position, I would have let the rock crush her, but that's just me. So she does end up finding Rockhook's shovel, and it actually glows, so much for the legend's bullcrap. As we then cut to Rarity, who actually ends up finding Miss Maine's flower, but a gardener is just there.
Garden. But that flower's the only worthwhile thing left.
But with Rarity's generosity, she's able to trim up the barn, get flower, and she gives her the flower.
Flash Magnus' shield ended up in the Dragonland.
So then we cut to Spike and Rainbow Dash, where they try to find Flash Magnus' shield, and we get...
Dragon sticking up for his pony pal.
Oh, god damn it.
Hey, that's an ancient pony artifact.
Close off my gorge board. I found it in the desert, and finders keepers.
You know, it's amazing that Rainbow Dash hasn't decided to sock Gargle in the face. I mean, seriously, what we could have had in Dragon Quest, just one little knock to the fist would be nice. And also, why isn't Ember here to de-escalate the situation? Alright.
It isn't yours.
Huh, it sure looks like mine. But I might consider racing you for it.
So Spike ends up winning because...
You can't... Oh, why is he always hiding behind ponies?
I wasn't hiding when I beat you down the ridge.
You fell.
Wow. You must be slow if all Spike had to do to win was fall down.
Burn.
I'm faster than you.
Doubt it.
I agree with Rainbow. You couldn't even catch her in Dragon Quest. What makes you think you're faster than her? So to make a lot of stupid short, Garble ends up getting tricked as basically Spike and Rainbow Dash get Flash Magnus' shield. As we cut to Fluttershy basically meeting up with Cattail again to borrow on the mask.
Now the other bayou creatures can get to the water.
We can find anything in there.
So then we see Pinkie Pie basically team up with Daring Do to find basically Zenebula's blindfold.
That was a dream. Weren't you looking for a blindfold? Oh, yeah.
And I think Pinkie just got radioactive powers. So yeah, you may have noticed that the first part of this episode, I think after all the explanation of what happened to Starswirl, the Pillars, and the Pony of Shadows, the rest of the episode's mostly just a fetch quest, really. A fun fetch quest, I'll give it that, but it just kind of feels like it's just there. As we then see Twilight and Sunburst basically being jorts, as Starlight basically raises some legitimate concerns.
Going through with it. pushing the envelope, obviously, but this is pretty out there for you, Twilight.
What's out there about saving the most legendary ponies of all time from a 1,000-year-old prison?
Well, nothing, when you say it like that.
Except for the fact that seems like you've had basically gotten amnesia and did not see the hologram. The reason the magical sorcerer was trapped is because he also trapped an ancient evil that was going to kill everybody, and if you release said evil, release the pillars, you will release said evil. Glee!
Unless the most legendary ponies of all time knew what they were doing, and we shouldn't mess with it.
And like I said before, and the fact they also imprisoned an ancient evil that was going to kill everyone! Is nobody recognizing the issues here?
I'm sure Starswirl and the Pillars did the best they could back then.
You're an idiot!
But magic has come a long way, mostly because of the work they did.
And I understand that, but you're forgetting the basic thing that if you go through with this, and you know what, let's just go ahead and get it, after the rest of the main six bring back all the artifacts, they bring back the pillars, and with quick reflexes, they basically see them, and...
What? No. You must undo what you've done.
What? Why? I mean, I don't think I can.
You cannot bring us back.
But I did. I brought all the pillars back.
You cannot bring only the pillars back.
Oh hey, it's the thing that I basically mentioned a couple of times, whereas because Twilight and Sunburst brought back the pillars, they also brought back the Pony of Shadows. And I gotta admit, that is an awesome transformation. And I'm pretty sure I have a feeling that's where a lot of the animation budget went. But yeah, let's go in Sunburst and Twilight, not thinking ahead about these dire consequences. And keep in mind, this is only part 1, and I was intrigued so far. I mean, it's definitely nice to hear about how basically to talk about the legends. Not only just about the pillars that we have learned from the latter half of Season 7, but also a little bit more about Starswirl, and we also get to have nice callbacks to the Pony of Shadows. So there's definitely a lot of intrigue and a lot of world building that this episode does give in the first half. The second half, admittedly, does get a little bit predictable because, as I said, by the second half after the first part, it basically essentially becomes a bit of a fetch quest. Like I said, it is an interesting fetch quest, and it definitely is to see how basically the rest of the main six reflect off of the pillars in Starswirl. But you kind of know where it leads all due to. So essentially, I feel like that this could essentially just be just one gigantic build up to part 2, which essentially it is the first part. But you kind of know where things are going to be. So the episode's not bad so far. I honestly find it very intriguing. There's a lot of world building to it, and I do like it. I guess maybe just compared to other seasons finales, I think mostly with Twilight's Kingdom, really. And as with Candlelight Wedding, you kind of know where it leads to, and it just feels like there's just a lot of padding. They probably would have cut down the fetch quest and probably could have focused on other aspects. It's by no means a bad episode so far, but just kind of missed potential and timing in terms of the writing on the episode so far. But honestly, I'm liking the episode so far. I think on the whole, I'd probably say Shadow Play, I think it's probably an A so far. I mean, yeah, again, the fetch quest just kind of bogged it down, and the fact that Sunburst and Twilight didn't think this whole plan through, those kind of bug me, which is what's holding this back from an A+. But I like the episode so far. Alright, so as much as I want to get through the rest of this episode tonight, unfortunately, I have work tomorrow morning, and then I have to go to Rhode Island to see my dad for Father's Day at the time of this recording. But we are so close to the end, I can taste it. Alright, next time, will be the second part of Shadow Play, and hopefully I can wipe my hands with Season 7. See you guys next time. Bye.